Hello everybody and welcome back into the first tutorial of our backdoor coding. So what we will do right now is we will try to recreate some of the functions and some of the things that we saw in the previous section, which was the Metasploit or system hacking section. Now we saw that in order for us to run our Meterpreter shell on target, we had to actually set up a listener and run the shell on target system. So this is exactly the same that we will try to do right now. We will code two programs in Python. One will be the server, which will be listening for incoming connections, and one will be the payload or the reverse shell, which we have to deliver to the target any way you like, whether it is over email, over some message, over link, or if it is just a simply USB deliver method. So here I have some picture right here, so let me open it, which basically shows what we have to do in order to create the server and reverse shell. So there is a module or a library in Python called socket library. We will have to import that. We talked about in the Python basics what importing libraries mean and how they help us in our code production. And we will use that library in order to create connection between our PC and the target PC. As we can see, the server is a program that we will run on our Kali Linux machine, and the client is basically a reverse shell which we have to deliver. And these right here are just some of the functions that we will have to use in order to properly make a connection between these two PCs. As we can see, we will use a three-way handshake using TCP in order to make our program. We will not be coding an UDP backdoor. We will use TCP. These first commands, as it says right here, server creating listening socket, so we have to listen for incoming connections, the same thing as we did in the Metasploit framework when we use the exploit multi-handler and set up a listener on localhost and on local port. Then we wait for target to execute our program, and then we get the Meterpreter shell back. Just in this case, we will not get the Meterpreter shell back, we will get the shell that we create. As we can see, as soon as the target finishes or executes this connect function, we will be accepting the connection and establishing connection via three-way handshake, and then we will be able to send and receive commands as long as we want. Now, another key thing to say right here is that we will use a while loop, which we also covered in Python basics, but right now what we will do is we will use an infinite while loop. We had a simple example of an infinite while loop before. Basically what we want to do is to be able to execute system commands on target PC for as long as we want. And then we should specify, for example, a command which is Q or exit or anything like that, the string that we will type in order to actually break the connection and in order to close the reverse shell connection. So we will have to put these two functions on both of our codes or both of our programs in a while loops, so they can both send and receive indefinitely. As we can see, client sending the data, server receiving the data is when client uses send function and server uses receive function. That's how we will receive the command output that we run on target PC, and we run the command itself, or we send the command itself to the target via the send command or send function that is built into the socket library. As we can see, server sending data and client receiving data. After that, we have to, once we specify a Q command or an exit command, depending on what we will code, we should be closing the connection with the target. So that's how we can close the reverse shell. Now, this is just the basic server and client type of program. What we want to do after we actually code the connection, we want to actually be able to execute some more things, such as, for example, running a screenshot on target system and actually getting that screenshot on our Kali Linux machine. Or, for example, running keylogger or making a persistent shell or making a registry key in order for us to be able to run the shell whenever system reboots or whenever target system reboots. So we want to build in all of those functions and make it as close as possible to the Metasploit framework Meterpreter shell, we will try to do that. Of course, we will not use all of the options in Meterpreter, since that would take too long to code and possibly would break somewhere, since right now we will not be running a properly written code. We only want to write a code that actually works. It doesn't matter if it is pretty or not for us, we want it to work and we don't want it to break. So, simple as that. Now, what I said before is that we actually coded the while loop for these instructions. Well, not for those instructions, but we coded something similar. So right now I'm in my Python program, so let me just enlarge this so you can see it a little bit better. And let me just find which program was the while loop. Let me just cat one by one so I can find it actually. So possibly 6. No, those are classes. Cat Python 3. Maybe that is 4, so it's Python 4. So here it is. If I nano Python 4.py, here we can see a simple use of while loop that we will actually use something similar in our program. So we set the x value to be true, and while true we will run this program. So we will run it forever until the user types in Q, which then after that will break the loop and exit the program. So we want to actually deploy something similar to this. So now, without actually delaying this, let's actually get started into coding a server, and a simple server and a simple backdoor for the beginning. So that will be about it for this tutorial, and I hope I see you in the next one where we start coding. Bye!